If you want to see a movie that will give you whiplash by going from 0 to 100 and then back to 0 within the first 40 minutes, the wiggest wig to ever wig, armed robbers who insist on stealing money with a transparent bag, and the most unprofessional police to ever police, Tyler Perry's Straw, which is currently showing on Netflix, is the movie for you. This will be the first Tyler Perry movie I'll actually be able to finish. But I always thought that there was always something low quality about his productions. Well, maybe not low quality per se. So if the story is not too outlandish and emotional, the color grading will be weird and distracting. Or the black women in the movie will be objects of pity and sympathy, while all the white people will be white in a weird triggering way that can sometimes border towards some sort of benevolent racism or something. Ideally, you just somehow always recognize the civil rights movement whenever you see white people in these movies. Straw features Oscar nominated actress Taraji Henson playing one of God's strongest soldiers in a story that is just too much. It's just a lot of stuff to take in all at once. Okay, so the movie starts off with a downcast woman who, let us say, is poor. She bathes her terminally ill daughter. Of course, poor people are always about to die. Is screamed at by her landlady for owing rent, drives her daughter to school, goes to her dead-end soul-sucking job as a cashier in a supermarket, endures a lot of disrespect from her boss, a lot of shame from her daughter's school because the daughter hasn't paid for lunch. She gets lambasted by said boss for asking for time off so that she can go to the daughter's school to pay for said lunch. The boss refuses to give her an early paycheck, so she runs off to the bank, where we again discover and she is reminded that she is poor. Yes, Tyler Perry, we know she's poor. She wants to withdraw her last $40, but she's told to wait in line, which would, shave off too much time from the 30 minutes that she had begged her boss for to sort this whole thing out. She then goes to her daughter's school. I'm not exactly sure why, since she doesn't have the lunch money with her. Where we find out, and she finds out too, that her daughter has been taken by Child Protective Services because the teacher reported some injuries on her and that she comes to school dirty sometimes. And guys, do you want to know why that is? It's because she's poor. Thank you, Tyler. We did not realize after the first four tribulations. On the way back to work, some police guy runs her off the road and threatens to kill her. He talks exactly like a street thug and not at all like anybody that should be given a gun and a badge and a commandment to protect anybody. His colleague impounds her car because her license is expired, and the license is expired because she is poor. She povertily walks back to work in the rain, where her boss promptly fires her for coming back more than an hour, 30 minutes late. She goes home to find that her property has been thrown out under the rain, and so she cries some more tears in heartbreaking poverty because she cannot afford rent. Later on, she goes back to beg her boss for a paycheck because she's poor and the exact opposite of Tyler Perry. The boss scoffs at her just before some armed robbers come into the store because she's not only poor but also unlucky. Shit happens, she kills one of them. The boss, even though he has two working eyes, and saw her plainly resisting the robbers and even begged her to give them her bag. By the way, who has ever heard of robbers who didn't come with their own bag? I thought that part was weird. And were these clowns really, really going to put stolen money in a transparent bag? God. Her boss, shaken from this mother of the robber, and who is also the personification of evil in this movie, as far as I'm concerned, calls 911 in her presence and blames her right there before the phone even connects because one of the robbers had read her name from her name tag. By the way, I like how the robber had a good enough eyesight to read her name tag from that distance, but not the foresight to come with their own bag to a bloody robbery. Jeez. Incredulously, the boss is blaming a frustrated, unpaid, unloved, and might I add, if you will forgive me, my dear viewers, very poor woman with a gun without any extra consideration. She ends up getting, well, triggered and kills the boss, then takes her paycheck from his table. She then goes to the bank with a blood-stained check, somehow having forgotten her ID. The bank teller, Tessa, even knowing her before, refuses to cash the check without ID. I mean, I like how it wasn't the barely readable blood-stained check that threw her off, but the fact that the woman who she knows walks across the street and for whom she cashes checks for didn't come with her ID today. Janaya, that's the name of the character, brandishes the gun from the robbery, which she still somehow happened to be holding, and all hell just breaks loose. Someone triggers a silent alarm to the police, and soon the police are on their way. Even though she has a gun with her, all Janaya is asking for is the $512 for her paycheck. She doesn't want anything else, nothing extra. But the bank teller just kept pushing all the money in front of her, amounting to thousands upon thousands of dollars to Janaya. And she keeps saying, no, give me my paycheck, my $512. It was all a bit confusing, but I liked it because I think that part was particularly well shot. The Tessa was just behaving like there was something wrong with her. She just kept pushing the money, wasting everybody's time, and I almost wish that she was shot just so that she can get out of my face. And she reminds me weirdly of Megan Good. They sort of have the same facial structure and eyes and lips or something. It was an uncanny resemblance. On another hand, the dead boss, the manager, has been discovered by the police, and the police are really on the case looking for Janaya. And when I say police, I'm actually talking about this wig, because this is the kind of wig that can assume your personality. This Detective Raymond, or maybe I should call her Miss Upper Lip, don't lie, just looked like they built a cottage on her head with the wiggiest wig to ever wiggle. Like, huh, I wonder if they call it wiggle because it moves like a wig. Food for thought, eh? Which happens to be the only kind of food that Janaya can afford for her daughter. But I'm sorry. I'll just continue now. The two police detectives go to her house, and surprisingly, the landlady refuses to let them see the place unless they bring the balance on her rent. I was quite shocked because this is a murder case, right? You don't get to talk to police people like this. How do you even have the mind to tell the police people to bring an outstanding rent before they investigate a room? I thought it was wild, but Tiana Taylor, who plays Detective Raymond, just says something like,
nice if you could just corroborate.
This one ain't even working.
like, sis, are you crazy? Are you not a police? Do you not know how to detective? What if there was a clue in the house? It just felt so Tyler Perry. I really hated that line because it just seems like the kind of thing that only a black person would say. And to see a black policewoman say it just rubbed me off the wrong way. There's a big misunderstanding at the bank where the staff think that Janaya has a bomb in her backpack. Meanwhile, it's her daughter's science project that she picked up when her property was thrown out in the rain. The police finally gather at the bank where they decide to wear this comical police vest that it's just so large that it makes them look like they are playing at being police, always showing your face. Now, to be clear, all through this whole thing, Taraji, playing Janaya, gives a fantastic performance as a distraught woman in the bank. She is unaware of the implications of having the gun in her hand inside the bank, and she's caught off guard because the bank was being surrounded by police, as shown on TV. Note also that this TV has not made a single noise throughout this movie until it was time to report about the policemen. She sees the policeman that threatened her on the road and completely freaks out in a really wonderful performance. It's at this point that the movie sort of starts going downhill and becomes a caricature of itself. Then it just goes from 100 to 80 to 0 as stupid things just begin to happen. One of the hostages, a bank staff, gets it into her head to record the whole thing, even though I'm not sure. Like, you are at gunpoint, and I don't know why the first thing in your head, you know the police are outside. Why you are recording, I have no idea. And even though the phone is right behind her head and the video is clearly recording, Janaya never actually notices. This particular plot point is incredible to me because the same noisy TV that revealed the police surrounding the bank also showed the reporter switching over to the live stream. Stupidly enough. I mean, how did the staff think that this entire thing made sense? Like, why would you think it's cute to live stream a person that has a gun to your head, basically? Like, do you have no brain? Do you have no sense of self-preservation? Anyway, for some reason, Janaya, even though she's on the call with the police and she's basically perpendicular, I think, to the TV, she never actually ever looks at the TV again, which is just to her right. It's insane because I was expecting the area staff to eat a bullet or something, but as she's on the call with the police, she's telling her sad story, and people all over the country or the state interrupt their hairdressing or everything else that they are doing to listen in because of they are all watching the live stream from the news reports. And the next thing, a picket line is forming outside the bank with people shouting, "We support you," and chanting for her release. It was a weird scene that, I was a bit embarrassed at the writing. It just went from 100 to 0 real fast. And don't forget, this whole thing is being live streamed by a TV right there in the bank that was making a lot of noise moments ago. The whole thing just turned to a comedy, honestly. I don't really know. The weird thing about this live stream is that later on, the bank staff who started it shut it off when Janaya goes to pee or something. So if we asked her why she did the live stream in the first place, what would she say? Since she didn't even know, as far as we know, that anyone watched it. Nobody in the bank actually seemed to have seen the live stream play on TV, which I thought was wild because I was expecting Janaya to see it, freak out, and maybe shoot the girl in confusion. But nope, the girl just did it for no other reason than for Tyler Perry to find a way to make people to come carry placards outside the bank. The people carrying the placards were shown on the same TV, and Janaya noticed it, but not the long sequence with her voice echoing when she was on the call with the police. The hostage negotiator wasn't actually around. For some reason, he was running late, and so Officer Wiggity Wig decided to talk to Janaya on the phone. In no time, she's holding back tears, etc, etc. What I found funny was that when the actual negotiator arrived and was asked to take over, he was like, no, 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 she actually did well. I wanted to throw up in my mouth. The acting was so embarrassing and low quality. And did I mention that not only do these policemen act like they have no idea how to pretend to be policemen, they are also wearing what I'd call billboards on their chest with the word police. It was so in your face that it looked like what kids would wear for a costume party. Every time that they are on screen, I'm just so distracted by the oversized police billboard on them, which is possibly, I think, the largest that I've seen in any movie. The FBI guy, Bryce, did try to take over the case, and based on the interaction, I don't know if they could or couldn't. The FBI guy is more concerned about the time that this standoff has taken instead of maybe the category of case it falls in. So, is it an FBI case or not? The movie is quite vague on this point, and I never really saw the point, especially as it ended up becoming a non issue in the end. There's a long standoff where Janaya tries to explain herself to the police that she cannot come out unless that police officer who ran her off the road was, removed from the scene because she was afraid he might do something drastic. If I've not mentioned before, he was among the police personnel surrounding the bank, and she saw him on TV. This same TV that is instrumental to everything in this movie except showing her live stream. As time goes on, the women in the bank begin to share stories, and bond, as you would expect from stuff like this. Even the bank manager begins to sympathize with Janaya and actively refuses to join the other hostages to leave when Janaya says so that the police simply don't have a reason to shoot her when she happens to be alone in the bank. Janaya also extracts a promise from the manager to be a foster mom to her kids until she gets out of prison, because that's really the end goal of this whole situation. Just when she is preparing to come out and surrender after the police guy was discovered and sent back to the station, I guess, her mom calls her and asks her what the hell she's doing. So she crosses the refrain, telling her mom that she just came to get money so that kids can pay for lunch at school. Her kid can pay for lunch at school, and so the other kids won't tease her. And there, her mother drops the plot twist, bombshell, reminding her that her daughter had a seizure the night before and they had taken her to the hospital where she had died. And so, as you expect, we get a replay of the events of the day, showing finally that Janaya had false memories, had been hallucinating her daughter all along. I actually really loved the soundtrack in this scene. It somehow reminded me of a sad Disney cartoon. She whispers to the manager that her daughter has died last night, and the woman replied, "I know, they told me." Why would they tell you? Are you a therapist? Like, why would the police tell you? Were you just gisting with the police as friends? Now I'll be waiting. Like, you are a hostage. Why did you need the information? The very next scene has the police barging into the place. But first of all, I wanted to ask if the stun grenades or whatever this was thrown into the bank, right into the middle of the door, right? Before the side doors broke, which hole did they throw it through? As you can see here that the door is still perfectly intact except for the side ones that are just being broken at this point. Anyway, the police SWAT people enter and they all scream, hands in the air, instead of drop the gun weirdly. And would you not be scared if someone with a gun raised their hands? Why would you not ask her to drop the gun? Janaya doesn't even move an inch before they decide to light her up with bullets. It was a very weird procedure. But that's all by the way, because this scene turns out to be a hallucination. This was quite confusing for me because I don't know why she would be hallucinating it. Just coming to terms that her daughter had died. So I don't get it. Like, where do this? I don't get how this policeman snuck into her imagination or her daydream or her hallucination from. And as far as I'm concerned, this scene only served to provide some action after a long lull in the proceedings. Now, after she wakes up from this latest updates to her hallucination, she finally exits the bank and surrenders to the police, alongside the manager giving her emotional support by also raising her hands and surrendering. Detective Raymond cuffs her and wiggitily and lippily says, "Nice to meet you." I nearly threw up again. Oh, God, who wrote this? Oh, sorry, no, it's Stella Perry. So, yeah. Don't forget that they bonded because Raymond was also raised by a single mother or something too. Like, it just gave me nausea. And so the movie just ends as she's being taken away. We don't know. Nothing happened to the officer who had caused all this problem in the first place. We don't know if the protests did anything. Did she go to a mental hospital? Did she get help? Tyler doesn't care. He just wanted to shock us. And so there we have it. That's the end of Straw. Even though I have peppered my thoughts throughout this, I just wanted to mention some things. Taraji P. Henson's acting elevated this movie tremendously. It was a pretty fantastic performance. At no point were you in doubt that she was in pain, that she was confused, desperate, and panicky. She was utterly a delight to watch. And I like that maybe she's getting her flowers now because over the years, I've heard very glowing things about Tyler Perry, the person, not as a writer, as a film director. As a person and a filmmaker, he seems to be a fantastic supporter of the black community. And even Taraji once said that he was the first person to pay her 500K in a role ever. I hear a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff like this about him from people that he has worked with, and so on that note, I am super glad that he exists and that he has made it his aim in life to uplift his fellow African Americans. It sounds easy, right? But I can imagine the extraordinary kindness that a businessman would have to surface in order to actively pay people what they are worth. So thank you, Tyler Perry, and I hope you keep being big for decades to come. He is not a visionary, but done is better than perfect. Now, for what I don't like about the movie, there is very little nuance to the thing. I don't know. It just plunges you into the deep end very quickly. She's very poor, she's very distraught, she's very mentally ill, she's very aggrieved, very inadvertently violent, very confused, and very poor. The hallucination story was nice in principle, but I think there's a reason you don't see it that much because it's such a low effort, low hanging fruit that people would rather just stay away. You honestly can't do it better than Fight Club, so why even bother? A lot of liberties were also taken to even make it make sense. Your daughter had a seizure. You and your mom took her to the hospital at night. She died, and somehow you went back home to sleep. Your mom also went back to her own house to sleep. She didn't call you throughout the day until the FBI people actually got to her house to question her to call you. Like, how is that even possible? If she is mad, her mother isn't. So how does your granddaughter die and you just go to bed? I appreciate the whole attempt, really, but there were just too many characters also that were so bad at their job that it took me out. Diana Taylor's wig and acting were really, really weird. Once I heard the name, I remembered it from one Kanye West dance video, like from back in 2014 or so. And I'd always assumed that the lady was a dancer or something. So I was surprised today when I Googled and I learned that she's also an actress. She didn't at all act like a policewoman. Not a single word or action that she did felt professional. It was as if she was some random woman from the streets. And to be fair, that is how every other person acted. But we have a lot of screen time spent on both her and Janaya and the bank manager, and she was just the weak link. Her wig and upper lip deserve to be paid separately for this movie because they were like their own characters. She was just so wiggy and just so lippy, like it just overshadowed the detective thing. I kept saying to myself, Ekwe, look beyond this sleep and this wig and appreciate the character. But come on, they then put a lot of heavy lip gloss on the thing. It was like she kissed a barrel of crude oil. Like, what? Why? Why would you do this to a detective? Why would she be dressed and made up like this? She just looked so wrong for the role. I had to go online while writing this review to confirm that she had work done on her lip for some reason. I mean, she looked good before, but it's not my lips, so love and light, boo. I kept wondering if the stylist or Tyler Perry did that lip gloss and the wig on purpose, just so that she would look as ratchet as possible for some reason that maybe did not make it through to the final edit. Overall, it's not a terrible movie, but of course, it doesn't have any rewatch value, so I won't do that again, so that I will not die of cringe. I would over 5. I would give the movie a 2.5. Yeah, one for the plot, 1.5 for Taraji's acting that elevated this far higher than it had any right to be. Like, it was a fantastic performance. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That will be all for this particular review. I will see you on the next one.